Why the gravity gun? Not just because I love Half-Life 2, but it also represents a major shift in the gaming industry. From the very beginning, video games have featured some representation of real-life physics. In the early years, this typically involved the use of gravity, mass and momentum. Who didn't love the challenges of Lunar Lander? It was uplifting to destroy your friend's tank. As computing power increased, more factors could be considered, such as wind. In 3D games, however, the addition of a third dimension introduced numerous new challenges for developers. Objects in the virtual world either didn't react to external forces at all, or did so only in very limited ways. This was especially true for death animations. Sometimes bodies just collapsed and stuck on the ground, while at other times they tried to simulate the law of momentum with questionable results. However, we had to wait until the early 2000s for a true breakthrough. At that time, PC gaming had a rather bizarre chapter: the physics accelerator cards. The company called Novodex released expansion cards similar to graphic accelerators that aim to elevate games physics and particle simulation to unprecedented levels. The idea of replicating the success of graphic accelerators with a new piece of hardware seems somewhat logical, but in the end, PPU has never become a fundamental element of the gaming culture. In 2002, we were blown away by a new kind of somewhat realistic physics. That year I first encountered ragdoll physics in Unreal Tournament 2003. The characters behaved incredibly realistically, and we finally left the pre-animated death behind. A year later, when Max Payne 2 was released, the amount of objects we could directly interact with was even more amazing. Everything could fly all over the place as we took out enemies. Although the bodies of the slain bad guys sometimes behaved in wildly bizarre ways, it was clear that ragdoll physics was part of the future of gaming. The showcase of the physics engine was strongly supported by the level designers. However, all this only increased immersion, but didn't have a real impact on gameplay. But in 2004, Half-Life 2 was released. A year earlier, in an E3 presentation, we saw an interactive world like never before. We've seen objects with varying densities that floated on or submerged in water depending on their properties. The physics simulation and graphics looked astonishing. But after release, entering City 17 was unforgettable. Valve created an incredibly strong atmosphere. Early in the game, the throw the can in the bin scene became an important element of world building, foreshadowing the importance of physics and storytelling.
Come on, Gordon. Let's go have some fun.
The zero-point energy field manipulator is not a toy, Alex.
Ugh, let's get out of here.
Then at a point, when we were eager to see what happened in Ravenholm, the game just broke our chains. With the gravity gun we could directly grab, lift and throw heavy objects. Such a weapon design may sound trivial now, but at that time it felt incredibly fresh that not only did interactions with the world become much more direct, but we could also turn every object around us into a genuine weapon. The gravity gun became an iconic element of the game and remains a memorable part of the gaming history. Although this gameplay mechanic is rarely used today, it has appeared here and there since then. Just a year after Half-Life 2, Doom 3's expansion was heavily inspired by our main topic. But to mention a more recent game, Control gave us amazing psionic abilities to have the destruction we cause under control. So why is this interesting? When we're talking about iconic weapons, the gravity gun keeps coming up repeatedly. Its uniqueness and historical significance in gaming are undeniable, something that can be copied but never truly replicated. What's next? I guess you already know that. Let's get started. Although I found some downloadable gravity gun models, I wanted to create the weapon to my own specifications. In 2013, NECA released an official replica, but it differed in several ways from the model seen in the game. Additionally, there are differences between the weapon external appearance and its FPS mode model. Considering everything, I decided to create my version from all three sources, aiming to align it most closely with the in-game first-person view. For the final model, I wanted to implement one addition. I made some space for a standard PVC pipe to provide a kind of frame and stability for the model. This eventually became the place of LED lighting and electronics. Learning from the case of the flak cannon build where I wasted material on large test prints, I created a non-printed model first. The term you're looking for is refined elegance. Holding it in my hand, I felt that the size was almost perfect, so I quickly printed a rough model, as refined elegance wasn't enough for my refined tastes. It was time to heat up the printer and finally shape my plans. After sanding, priming, sanding again and priming again, it got my favorite metal paint, but it was really boring like this. The gravity gun is an industrial tool, so I built up the effect of dirty, corroded steel in 6 or 7 layers. Then came the direct rust spots, making the weapon even more realistic. If you like the video or curious about what other builds I'm working on, subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. And what is your favorite weapon? Let me know in the comment section. I will add every suggestion to my to-do list. Except for the postal cat.
Nope.
The side containers didn't get a metallic color, but it blended nicely into the overall look of the weapon with heavy weathering. For the left handle, I bought a BMX handlebar, which perfectly matched the original design. The other handle, which holds the weapon's weight, was strengthened with a threaded rod. This gave it the necessary support and stability. The side container holders were put in place, but before permanently gluing everything, it was time to test the lighting. After a few small soldering jobs and fixes, it was time to attach the small side box where an LED strip takes place. With the main element complete, it was time to focus on the Zen crystal. Most replicas I encountered used a solid orange crystal, but the in-game model features a dirtier one. Although I didn't yet know how to make it look nice, I wanted to see this version on the finished weapon. The first attempt resulted in a truly disappointing outcome. I left the job hanging for a few days until I figured out how to achieve the look from the game. This was much closer to what I wanted to see. I only partially printed the movable manipulator arms and thought it better to make the finer details by hand. The final touch was making the small gauge on the side of the weapon. It was made by a paint spray cap and a red energy drink can. Nothing left to do, but head to Ravenholm.
Using it.
It's much too unpredictable. Don't let it overcharge.
What do you mean, overcharge?